What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bischoff and Brown right here on the Detroit Lions podcast. I'm Russ Brown. He's Scott Bischoff. We're back. The Lions are back, I think. I don't know, but we'll get into it. Week 2 recap, Week 3 preview on the horizon. Baltimore Ravens, Monday Night Football. A lot of good stuff there. But Scott, my man, how the hell are you?
Good. Doing good. How are you?
I'm good. We're good. We can all exhale, and we can kind of maybe get back on track and back to normal. I guess that's what happens when you lose week 1, and I'm guilty of it myself, but the expectations become really high for the Detroit Lions, and they don't do what they're supposed to do in week 1, and they come out and they dominate in week 2. What did you take away from week 2 against the Bears on Sunday afternoon? I mean, what a performance from the Lions from top to bottom.
Yeah, I think for me it was just how polar opposite they were from week 1. How, I don't know, how dysfunctional they looked at times in week 1, and how overmatched they look, right? As opposed to week 2 when they were. I mean, it was just, everything they did in week 2 seemed to make sense, and it worked and all that stuff. I do think, the hope was that we would look back at week 1, maybe, 8 games down the line, and think, all right, it was just an off game for them, period. On top of being week 1 on the road, hostile environment with new offensive line, just lacking cohesion, all that stuff. But then I can't make I suppose I can't make the argument that they fixed all that stuff going into, looking at the week 2, film. It just makes me wonder if week 1 really was that much of just, laying an egg kind of thing. For them to be able to get it all back so quick and make it look so easy. Now, it's also possible that the Bears defense is just horrendous.
Could be.
And there were some instances of like, wow, like, I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening with what they're specific to their run fits. It's tough to defend the pass. It just is. Especially if your pass rush isn't getting home, if your blitz isn't getting there, if you're not really pressuring a quarterback. I think that's a kind of a different thing, but the run fits and the way Chicago tried to defend the run just was like, why are you jumping inside? I mean, I get it. Some guys are just trying to make plays, but I think in some ways Chicago made it easy for the Lions to do some of the things they wanted to do. However, having said all that stuff, I thought the Lions executed incredibly well in running the ball. What did you think?
I'm with you. The execution was right on par. I think there might have been offensively 3-4 bad plays out of the 58 total plays that they ran. So I mean, you're talking a well over 90% clip where you're executing at a very high level offensively. One play off the top of my head that was a negative was they brought in Awasika as the 6th offensive lineman, and they flipped him prior to the snap, and they ran a play action pass play, and he ended up letting his guy just get inside. And at the end of the day, it was a dead play, so it didn't really count. But it was one of those where it was like, okay, that might be a little concerning. If Awasika is your 6th offensive lineman, where the hell's Dan Skipper? What are we doing in this regard? But that's a conversation probably for a different day. I thought running the football, they stuck with it. They didn't force touches to Jahmyr Gibbs like I felt like they did in week 1. I mean, 10 catches for 18 yards a week ago to now where, he was only getting 3 receptions out of the backfield. I felt a lot better about that. I loved that David Montgomery was sprinkled in as well. And he got, a couple of touches down inside the red zone. You watch him run and he makes it look so easy for his size to navigate through tackles, through openings. So a lot to love with how they ran the football. And then obviously just Jared Goff, right? Like what he was able to do off of play action. He was so efficient. If I remember right, he was like 10 of 12 for 193 yards or 198 yards, something like that off of play action. He was super efficient. And then the last stat with Jared Goff, he had 5 incompletions at one point. He was 6 for 11. He finished 18 for 18. Like he just went on a run, or maybe 15 for 15. And he went on a run, and the dig route came back. Amon Ra St. Brown was attacking the middle of the field. I know they're going to set the table for Isaac Tesla to start doing some of that stuff as well. But Khalif Raymond had a couple of big catches there as well. Just so much to like. We saw J-Mo on the crosser. They took a deep shot. They connected and scored. They could have maybe connected earlier as well. They took a deep shot, and Goff had St. Brown wide open in the middle of the field and could have checked down, but he took a shot, which is okay. You're setting the table for, what's to come. And it was just a great bounce back win that we needed to see. 52 is crazy. I just never would have guessed that in this division that you would have hung 52 on an opponent. And that kind of brings me to the question of, is it personal between Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell? And I'm sure, yeah, a little bit, but I don't take anything out of the handshake after the game. Like, it's always short and sweet with Dan Campbell. He's trying to get back. And, those guys are buddies. They're going to text each other after the game anyways. And who knows what they said prior to the game. Before almost every game in the NFL, head coaches are meeting at midfield talking, or maybe they met in a hallway somewhere in Ford Field and talked a little bit behind closed doors. So I don't take it as like he was trying to run up the score on him. I don't take it as like anything other than, maybe they took it a little personal that he left and went to the Bears.
Well, I think the players did.
Yeah.
I think the players definitely felt that. It's a little bit of, we talked about, you talked about it a week ago, a good call on the Montgomery stuff about that, them getting that monster unleashed kind of thing. Like, just let him get it rolling. That's your identity. It's just mashing, on offense. But I think the way that some of the players did speak in the post game was very obvious that they were. I want to say this carefully because I don't know this for sure, but it does seem like some of them did have that game circled, right? Like, the Bears, Ben Johnson, week 2. Did they overlook things in week 1? Who knows? I mean, I think we have an overreaction in week 1, and we have a bit of an overreaction in week 2, the opposite direction. We got to be careful, or we're going to end up with broken necks snapping, one way or the other. But if you knew going into week 2 that they were going to look the way they did, you would think, okay, they're cool. They're good. This is exactly like what it looked like at times last year, how ridiculously easy they made offense look. And it's not easy, it's not like Laporta was significantly involved in that matchup, but the tight ends were.
Yep.
All the running backs got good in that matchup. You mentioned J-Mo, you mentioned Amon Ra, just ridiculous, right? And then the Tesla catch. I think it's reasonable to think he has the 2 best catches in the NFL through 2 weeks, and he has 2 total catches in the NFL. Yeah. It's just silly.
Yeah. He's only played 20 snaps on offense, like very limited up to this point. But I think as the season goes on and they get comfortable with him in season game mode type stuff in certain situations that happen, whether it be on third down or going some tempo or whatever the case.
I think red zone. I think he could just be, in the lower, from the 5-yard line and in, from the 10-yard line and in. I just don't know how you defend it.
Yeah.
And we've seen it now. Does he have 4 touchdowns? I want to say in his 5, he played how many? Whatever, it doesn't matter. He's an explosive sort of thing waiting to happen. But their offense was ridiculous. I do think looking at their defense, something we do need to acknowledge that I don't want to, but we need to. Hutchinson does not look like he has the same first step quickness or explosiveness that he had at the beginning of last year.
Yeah.
And he almost looks a little bit, and I know he's still converting speed to power. I'm not saying he's at risk or any of that stuff. I just think he's got a little bit of juice that he's got to get back.
Yeah.
And it looks that way because some of the pass rush is just power stuff. It's still going to be there, right? But it matters because we're talking about an unknown an unknown about Marcus Davenport. We don't totally know what's happening there. I'm not sure what you think, but I think he got hurt on the play on the sack.
Yeah.
I don't totally know what he was doing, but I think he was trying to punch the ball out. And to me, it looked like he just sort of, smashed the bicep kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it could be a shoulder thing. And I do not love the idea that they need to send him for a second opinion. Unless you wouldn't do that unless the first opinion was not necessarily great news. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the fact that he spoke today, we're recording Wednesday afternoon. Dan Campbell spoke this morning about it and said he didn't have an answer yet. So I don't think we're in the clear on Marcus Davenport. We're just not. So, I don't know what you think about the Hutchinson thing. I thought it was important that we bring it up. That I think if we're all looking at it objectively, he does look a little bit that. Yeah, I mean, with his game, it was all predicated on power. The concept around tackles having to sit down and embrace for that, and then him kind of slithering around outside or going real hard back inside was how he would win all the time.
Yep.
And if you don't have the outside move and everything turns into power, I think it's just realistic to expect it to take a little more time with him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I don't know. What do you think?
I'm with you. I think though too, he's being asked to do kind of a different role than I think we're used to him having, because I felt like in the past there was a lot of just send him, widen him out, send him. And I'm noticing a lot of, it's not even like TE stunts. It's like almost like quarterback spy containment stuff where he's like on a bubble to the outside or he like floats over the top back over the ball and kind of hovers around the center type of thing. And it's not all the time, but I do notice what you're saying as far as there's not really that first step that we're used to seeing where he can really fire out of his stance and make the offensive tackle instantly regret having to line up against him because they're slower off the ball than he is. It's like he's still in lockstep with that tackle once the ball is snapped, which has not really been the way he has played over the last season and a half. So I think he's still adjusting a little bit to how everything feels and probably still getting kind of back up to speed just with the game. When you're not playing for X amount of time and you go back into it, it's probably going to take a minute to really get going. And I'm not saying that you're, saying the sky is falling with Aiden Hutchinson.
No, I'm not. And you're making a good point about the contained stuff. And, if they're not asking him to rip up the field, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I wouldn't expect them. They played a lot of contain against Green Bay. They did for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we necessarily saw him even get an opportunity to get up the field in that game. So I'm basing this on just the way that first step looks, not necessarily anything else.
Yep.
He did have opportunities against the Bears. There were times when he looked like he was going to squeeze things down. He got real close. It's just, it's something to pay attention to, specific to what he looks like. And, he's not in danger or any of that kind of stuff. No. And he's still hot. So he'll be fine. Yeah. It's just, if you lose Davenport, then we're talking about, potential other scenarios. I don't know. I mean, there's one scenario out there, and it's very good for the Detroit Lions, very bad for an AFC North team, I don't even know if we want to get into that.
Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's always that option, and who knows?
They have the cap space to absorb that his contract for this year. They just do. You know, but
and
whether they would do that, I don't know.
Others. I mean, right? It's not just Trey Hendrickson. There's other names out there that they could, still go for. Who those names are, I don't know. But I mean, it's not just one team. There's many teams, and we've seen that, the last couple of years where they've gotten creative and added somebody mid-season. So obviously they didn't bring back Zadarius Smith. We don't know why. I don't know. They felt comfortable with Marcus Davenport, and it is what it is. And obviously, it's kind of the same old song and dance with Marcus Davenport, unfortunately, where health is just a concern.
Yeah, and obviously we're crossing our fingers that he's okay. But
right. But to your point, you're right. Like, second opinion is never a good thing. Joe Burrow just went and got a second opinion on his foot, and he's going to be out for 3 months with the toe, and he's going to need surgery and all those things. And second opinions are bad, normally bad opinions. So maybe. And I mean it in a way like it's bad news. So we'll see obviously how it goes, but they're going to have to get creative, and they still have Muhammad, who has played really well early on in this season.
He really has. Yeah.
He really has. He's looked the part. Maybe Josh Pascal comes back, and maybe they take a swing at Nate Lynn. Maybe they bring him back. He had a strong summer. We talked about it. Little surprised he wasn't on the 53-man roster. I thought maybe he'd get a crack at it after the Hendon Hooker stuff, but it is what it is. And they can get creative, like I said. They can use Jack Campbell. They can use Derek Barnes. Grant Stewart has not played a lot on defense. He only played 6 snaps on Sunday, the least of any defender. And I think that guy's like a little spark plug. You know what I mean? Like, blitz him from a wide range of alignments.
The hair, which is exorbitant, is on fire with him.
Exactly. So let him get after it a little bit, and maybe you find situations where he can excel and Derek Barnes can excel, and then you have Muhammad, and obviously you have Hutch for probably close to 100% of the snaps. So I think there's a lot of good there. And I will say Brian Branch, he took that game personal for sure. He stepped up in a big way. He had a couple of big plays, obviously, with the sack and a couple tackles for loss, the forced fumble. He did have the penalty.
Can we talk about Arnold on that play just for a second? Because I think that there's a little bit of this. So that particular play, I think, is why the Lions were so enamored with Terrion Arnold in the draft. He is willing to step in there and take on Jonah Jackson, pulling guard, set the edge, which allows Branch to fly in there and rock swift, and obviously the ball comes out. But the idea that Terrion Arnold, whatever he weighs, 190 pounds, whatever he weighs, is willing to stick his nose in there and take on Jonah Jackson and rock him, and that frees up Branch to fly to the ball, that's defense. And I don't think every cornerback in the NFL is willing to do that kind of thing. They're just not. That is specifically why the Lions loved Arnold so much, because he is willing to do that kind of stuff. And he deserves credit for setting a firm edge like that. He just does. Absolutely.
I think the thing with Terrion that anybody, and you I know would agree, is just the coverage statistics and where he's at through 2 weeks. It's not good. And I'm not saying he's bad, but he's got to get better. And we've seen Calvin Shepard come out and say he has to get better. And the statistics, the data, whether you agree or disagree with it, the data is what it is. And he's near the bottom. I mean, he's given up 120 passer rating. His yards allowed per coverage snap are well over 2.5, which is the highest of anybody in the NFL. So, Tyreek Stevenson of the Bears is near the bottom of the rankings, and right next to him is Terrion Arnold. So I came across something on Twitter from @AccountStat. It's a stat account. Maybe it's somebody's burner, maybe, I don't know, but they put together a chart that's got all the corners and where they are with the passer rating when targeted and yards allowed per coverage. And this data is from PFF and SIS, which are great data sites. And the data is what it is. And Arnold's near the bottom with Tyreek Stevenson. And that's a little concerning because up near the top, you've got Dante Jackson, you've got Carrington, Valentine from the Packers. You've obviously got Will Johnson up there, AJ Terrell, ton of different names. So it's a really good list of corners and defensive players, but Arnold is near the bottom. So that's a little concerning, but we'll see how that transitions into week 3 with the Ravens. We'll get into week 3 right now. Monday Night Football, we know Lamar Jackson. That's
you know what? It's bullshit that the Lions have to play the Ravens. I just want to put that out there.
Why?
Just because it is. I don't like it. Just not a fan of it. I don't want any part of it. I don't like it.
I'm with you. I mean, it sucks, but it is what it is. This is how it was. 2 years ago? They opened the season against the Chiefs, and we were like, no way, like this is uncalled for, and they ended up pulling off the upset a little bit. Maybe that's what they do here. Maybe they pull off an upset. Am I wrong for? Am I wrong for saying that this is not going to be the same game that we saw a few years back, where they went to Baltimore and got absolutely torched? Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so. But I don't know what to make of this. I do not know what to make of what this defense is going to be looking like trying to chase down Lamar Jackson. I don't know what to make of it. So that therein lies I have no idea what to even expect Monday night.
Yeah.
But I will say this. We have all talked about how difficult this schedule looked, especially the first 8 games. But suddenly, if we look past week 3, which I'm not a player, so I can do that. Week 4, you get Cleveland. Week 5, you get Cincinnati with Jake Browning. Week 6 is Kansas City, and they don't look like this big monolith like
Kansas City team that we're used to seeing.
Right? So all of a sudden, it's like, if they get out of the Ravens, if they somehow do something in Baltimore, that's crazy. Not that it's crazy, but if this scenario is pretty wild. What it could look like through 6 games. When we consider just 2 weeks ago or a week ago what it might, how it could be awful through 6 games. Like they might be 2-4, they may be 3-3 kind of thing. Obviously, this is going to be a huge test on the road against a team that they have not matched up with well in the past, obviously, but I'm not expecting them to get routed like they did 2 years ago. I just don't know. I don't know if anybody knows what to do with Lamar Jackson. Good luck.
Yeah, I don't know what you do with him, because he does not turn the football over like some people may make it out to be, or like he maybe did back in 2021 and even 2022. Like, he has really gotten into a rhythm and gotten really comfortable throwing to whoever, whether it be Rashad Bateman, whether it be Tylan Wallace, Zay Flowers. He doesn't need to have a true
Devontae Walker.
Right. It doesn't matter. I mean, he didn't turn the football over at all last year. 4 picks, 41 touchdowns. He's off to a really good start this year, completing almost 70% of his passes, 434 yards, 6 touchdowns, no picks. Obviously, the mobility is there. And I think that's the biggest thing is do you just let him beat you on the ground and you just hope and pray that the coverage is able to stand and do what it needs to do? I mean, that's the thing, because they are so problematic offensively. Defensively, they don't worry me like they used to. Back in the 2000s. Back in the 2000s, you're like, oh man, we're playing the Ravens. We're gonna throw for 100 yards, run for 50, and maybe put up 14 points. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the case anymore. You're gonna be able to go out and put some points on the board, but the defense is gonna have to get some stops, and the pass rush is gonna have to get there at some point, at least once or twice. You're not going to bring them down 5 or 6 times.
That's the key, is the pass rush. Because if Lamar Jackson wants to just hang out in the pocket and beat you throwing the ball down the field, he can do that. He's very effective. He's an incredible pocket passer. I think that people mistake that. He is a really good pocket passer. He's very accurate, all that stuff. And if he just wants to hang out back there and he has time, he's going to pick you apart. If you pressure him and you give him running lanes.
No, he absolutely is. Yeah. I'm pulling up.
You're good.
Yeah, no, and I'm pulling up coverage grades right now for man and zone the data, and I'm trying to find the Ravens on there. This is I'm struggling right now. I mean, I got the Lions up there. Cover one in man, they run it 35% of the time. That's fourth highest in the NFL. They run cover two man 5% of the time. And then from a zone coverage standpoint, which I feel like they're running a little bit more zone than we're maybe used to seeing, but a lot of it is cover three and cover four. Cover three is 32% of the time. Cover four is 13% of the time. That is for the Lions. And then for the Ravens, they run cover one 34% of the time, cover zero. So cover zero is just all out blitz. That's 4% of the time. And then in zone, it's cover three and cover six. So 14% of the time. And cover six is more like a split coverage type of deal with cover four and cover two based on, the side of the field. So I will be very curious how the Lions attack it in a passing perspective. Obviously, running the football, I think the Lions should be okay because Jahmyr Gibbs can make anything happen. And if they can keep David Montgomery going between the tackles and kind of keeping the defense honest, getting 3, 4, 5 yards a chunk, I think that was the big thing with the Bears that they didn't do in week one was they weren't as predictable on some of these down and distances. They were really successful with the play action passing game, and they were able to get some yards after the catch, but just keeping things honest on first and second down, it set up a lot of manageable third down situations, which the Lions still are not great at. They were only 4 for 10 on Sunday, but you'll take it. I mean, a 40% clip is still relatively good considering how things are ran today in the NFL, but it's a really interesting matchup, and I don't really know what to expect because we've seen two different sides of the Lions early in the season, and we haven't seen them come out and dominate 4 or 5 times in a row where you're like, okay, this is what we're going to get. What type of football team are we going to get? We're hoping we get something similar to Sunday, but with the matchup, it's really tough to determine how this whole thing is going to look. So I have a hard gauge on this game because can you stop Lamar? Can you stop Derrick Henry? Because our run defense has been very consistent through the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah. It's funny. I in thinking about this for the morning here, I didn't even consider about Derrick Henry. Just never, it didn't enter, like, it's more about Lamar, but that's really flawed thinking because if you just decided you wanted to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry a bunch of times, that's a problem.
It is.
It just is. The Lions are good. They're a good run defense. Derrick Henry's a different beast, though, and if you allow him to get into the secondary at full speed, you got problems. This might be one of those games where the Lions linebackers have to play just lights out. They do flowing laterally and with their run fits and all that stuff.
Well, I think they've got some miscommunication issues in the linebacker room through 2 weeks. From what I've seen on film, specifically against the Bears, there was a big crossing route where it looked like it was on Anzalone, but then the guy crosses the face. Who was it? Was it Roma Dunze or DJ Moore? I can't remember who the receiver was.
I think that was a Dunze.
And it cross face to Jack Campbell, and he just watches him go by, and it's like, well, what are we doing here? Like, are we running a zone? Are we running man? And if we're running man, where's the man that's trailing him? Yeah. So there's some miscommunications, I think, on that front. And if they can clean that up and they can handle some of the middle parts of the zone or middle parts of the field, whether it be mid hook zone or curl to flats or just covering in man, I think that they could be much better off. And I'll be curious, how do they spy Lamar Jackson? Are they going to go with a skilled player? Are they going to go with like a Rock Ya-Sin? Are they going to go with Avonte Maddox? Or are they going to use a Grant Stewart for that? Or is it going to be Hutch? Because I would prefer Hutch is just down in a 3-point or standing up and pinning his ears back and doing what he does. And you have the more athletic kid trying to chase after. And I'm not saying Hutch is not an athlete, but get the more speed player in space to handle Lamar. What is going to be the design? Because if you come out with the same game plan you did that Aaron Glenn had with ever defending a mobile quarterback, you're going to give up a lot of yards. You're going to see a lot of pass interference on Arnold, and we're going to probably see a lot of points given up on the board. I'm not calling.
You're going to give up a lot of running yards too to Lamar because it's going to be all right. This defender's playing man, and he's the only player on on that quarter of the field, and he just turned his back on me.
Yeah.
They're not good, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how. And this is the greatness of Lamar Jackson, is that if you take away him, if you play a bunch of contain and you take away the ability of him to run the ball, he will pick you apart on, because you're not getting a lot of pressure unless you're doing a bunch of blitzing. He can do all those things, and he's such a dynamic runner. He can beat you there too. But you look back at in week 1, they gave up tons of points. Their defense looked pretty poor. I do think that they're a little different. They're definitely built than they were 2 years ago. I think the Lions can score on them and can put themselves in a position to be okay in this game, but it's going to be the determining factor there is, can you get off the field on third down? Can you force the Ravens to punt and put them in bad down and distance kind of situations? I don't know. That's going to be it. And then on offense, I think that taking the air out of the ball and running it is really probably the most effective way, just reducing possessions. Like if you take away Lamar Jackson from a possession each half or two, whatever it is, however it works, if you get rolling running the ball, that makes a lot of sense to me. That doesn't mean that's what the Lions are going to do, but I fear the Lamar Jackson thing, and I think it's reasonable to fear it, in this matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the big thing too is, what are you going to do when you force a turnover? If you do, the through 2 games, and still very early in the season, small sample sizes, we get it. Baltimore's only forced 2 turnovers, but they've only given up 1 turnover. The Lions, they've only the Lions are the I think that's the thing. If you're not capitalizing on certain things, they had a fumble against the Bears that they didn't score on. They had a turnover on downs they didn't score off of. If you're getting the football back and you're not scoring, that's going to be very problematic no matter who you're playing against, but specifically the Ravens. So if we get some turnovers, let's capitalize. That's the big thing for me. And I just wonder, can Terrion Arnold handle covering a Zay Flowers or a DeAndre Hopkins? Because I'm going to start turning my focus probably towards him, as he has kind of struggled to start the season, as I pointed out. So we'll see how this one goes. I think we could go in depth forever on what we could possibly do to stop Lamar Jackson. And no matter what you draw up, I don't know if it's going to be good enough, but I think that'll be the key for Calvin Shepard. How can he make himself different from previous defensive coordinators in Detroit, specifically Aaron Glenn? How do you start carving your own path as a DC, and how do you kind of make your own name, stopping probably that mobile quarterback, one of the best ones in the league, if not the best one in the league? Finding ways to stop him will be key.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder the Arnold stuff. I mean, you mentioned the yards given up per snap, whatever it is. Whatever. I'm not dismissing it.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is. I know what it is, but is there? Obviously, he went out in week 1 pretty early after giving up. He gave up like a 45-yard catch, and then he got picked and gave up like a 20-yard touchdown.
Yep.
And it's like, those 2 plays are going to really skew those numbers. So I don't know how the numbers stack up as far as the number of snaps. I don't know if we have access to that info. But if, you know what I mean? Like, I think there could be a little bit of those 2 big plays are really, really dragging that number down. I don't know that, though. I have no idea. Just something I wonder,
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know if they're basing it off of, number of snaps compared to other players. I'm looking at advanced defense right now on Pro Football Reference, and Terrion Arnold through 2 weeks, 11 receptions allowed on 16 targets for 176 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown, as you mentioned, on Green Bay. Yeah. He was targeted 9 times against the Bears and gave up 6 receptions for 89 yards. So he's given up 16 yards per completion and 11 yards per target. And the quarterback rating, I mean, he had a basically a perfect quarterback rating when targeted against Green Bay, which obviously we know they were off their game on that day, but it went down a little bit against Chicago, but still some of that is concerning. And it does make you wonder, though, they were in attack mode. They were throwing a lot in the second half. Does the game script when it's closer and you're running the football a little bit more? Does it change a little bit? Maybe that number looks a little bit better when it's a little bit of a closer game. But when you're up, 30, 40 points at one point, and they're throwing the football to try to make up for it, you're probably going to get targeted, and you're probably not going to play as tight a coverage because you're running maybe a little bit more zone, and you're just trying to get out of there healthy and get out with a win. So I think it changes, obviously, this week against the Ravens if it's a tighter game, but it's got to be a tighter game. Can't be the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. They have to play. They have to play a pretty complete game on offense, defense, and special teams, and they have to play at a very high level.
Yeah.
Period. If they're going to go into Baltimore on Monday night and win that game, they just do.
Yeah.
They're not going to have. I mean, I know the Lions are as talented a football team as there is in the NFL, but I think just for anybody, if you're the Packers right now, and I think we could say right now that the Packers are probably the best performing team through 2 games.
Yep.
I do not think the Packers would look to a situation like going into Baltimore going on the road against Baltimore on Monday night and thinking that they stack up real well against that team. That's tough. This is just one of those. This is one of those matchups that it's both a measuring stick kind of a game, but it's also like, this is tough, man. But this is what happens when you play some of the, like, Baltimore's a top 5 team in the NFL.
100%.
And 100%. They're playing offensively, they're playing at a very high level. It's I mean, it is what it is. This is tough. This is tough stuff.
Yeah. And I think, approaching the game that, you got to approach it with the mindset of like, hey, they're a top team, but so are we. We were one of the best teams in the league last year, if not the best team in the league. And obviously it changed. The Eagles were the best team because they won the Super Bowl and all of that stuff. But statistically, you were one of the best teams in the league. And early going so far, you're still kind of up there. And people are going to respect you as so. So just come in, do your game. Don't do too much. Don't overcompensate. Lamar's going to get his yards. He's going to do what he does. Derrick Henry's probably going to do what he does. But just try to, ease it as much as you can by forcing field goals instead of touchdowns. Get a couple of turnovers. Make them in long, third and long situations that they're probably not used to seeing. Put them in situations as a football team that they're not used to being in, because, it seems to be pretty easy for the Ravens week in and week out because of what they can do and how they execute. But it's obviously easier said than done. We'll see how they do and how it goes on Monday Night Football. But key player to watch on offense, key player to watch on defense. I can start, you can start, but we're starting on the offensive side of the football for Monday Night Football. Who's that key player to watch?
Go ahead, you go.
For me, I'm going to focus up on, I'm going to focus on Jared Goff. I'm going to look at how he handles some of the pressures that the Baltimore Ravens are going to give him compared to maybe what he saw week 1 against the Packers. He did a really good job responding in week 2 against the Bears, but how does he do if play action doesn't get going? If he's got to stand there and really think about things and not just drop back and run play action, how does it change this week compared to weeks prior? And just, will he not have any turnovers? Will there be anything that's not costly? Not saying he's turning the football over. Jared Goff, I love, but this situation on the road, Baltimore, we know, as we've talked about throughout the whole show, how does it look for him going in this matchup, and can he play his game that we're used to seeing?
Yeah, that's a good call. This could be one of those breakout moments for a player like Isaac Tesla, where maybe pushing the ball down the field a little bit. I want to look at their running backs, because I think they're going to be tasked with trying to take time off the clock kind of stuff. Yeah. I know that's a really simple way of just that's what everybody, all the football people say when they don't want to let the other team's offense dictate the terms of what happens in the game. I mean, it's just what we talk about, but I think there's a lot to be said for, slowing everything down, taking the air out of the ball, run the clock down to 5 seconds before you snap the ball, and just grinding stuff out while running the ball. But you have to generate first downs, and you have to score doing that, right?
Yes.
So it's not just enough to say, well, we got one first down and then we punted. We ran the ball, 6 out of our 7 plays, and we took 3.5 minutes off the clock, but then we punted. No, you need to put together a 7 or 8 minute drive where you really don't give Baltimore a chance to have the ball, but you got to finish in the end zone in those situations. So, on offense, going to be interested to see what the Lions decide they want to do as far as running the ball goes, and then what the running backs look like.
I'm with you. And I think too, like they've shown so far this season that they can put long drives together. They can put short drives together and score right away. But you look at week 1 against the Packers, before the half, they had 2 drives back to back where they ate up 17 minutes of clock almost, and all they had was 3 points to show for it. So the difference of that game would have been if they had 14 points to show for it. So I think that's the key thing. I'm with you 100%. If they go out and have those long drives, get points on the board, not threes, not, we don't want 6. We want touchdowns and those types of things, not field goals. So can they do that? And then defensively, key player to watch on defense.
I'm going to go Jack Campbell.
Okay.
I don't know that I have any reason to say that I think that he's going to be a spy, and I don't think it's that necessarily, but he is going to have one of those games that we're going to look back and say that was his coming out party kind of game.
Yes.
I'd like to think that Tyreek Williams is a player to watch in this scenario, and obviously the safeties and all that stuff. But I think that a player like Campbell in the middle of that defense is going to have to flow laterally, quick enough to be able to corral some things, but he's also going to have to take on the blocks and be physical enough to turn some runs back inside to where his friends are at. He needs to be the dude in this game.
I like it, especially with Tyreek. I mean, he didn't record a tackle on Sunday against the Bears technically, but he was in on that 4th down run stop with Caleb Williams trying to QB sneak it. He had the 2 pass deflections at the line of scrimmage. If he can do any of that, maybe get home once or twice, and obviously maybe any tackles for loss on Derrick Henry will always be big. So I'm with you 100%, and especially Jack Campbell. Everybody knows that's my guy. But for me, the key player to watch is DJ Reed. Can the success continue? He's off to a really good start this year. 4 receptions allowed, 47 yards, no touchdowns. He's really looked the part. I know really the only thing that happened on week 1 that he got beat that was obvious was the Romeo Doubs corner route where he faked inside and went and broke out towards the sideline. That was the only real route that gave DJ Reed any problem so far this year. And I'm just curious, what does it look like for him against the Ravens on the road if Terrion Arnold is drawing Zay Flowers or DeAndre Hopkins? That means that we'd probably see DJ Reed on the other receiver. How does that look? And if you're taking away, let's say, one side of the field, maybe that makes things a little bit easier with controlling some of the game, especially through the air. So I really am going to pay attention to DJ Reed and what he does defensively for the Lions on Monday night against the Ravens.
Good call.
What else you got? Anything? We got...
No, I mean, we could go on forever about the Lamar problem, like you said, and all of it. In the end, I think the Lions' offense, again, they have to play to a certain level. Yeah. The Lions' offense will be able to hang with Baltimore's defense. They just will. I think the Lions' offense is very potent. I can't imagine Baltimore is happy about thinking that they got to deal with all this stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, I think we got to look at it that way, too. What is Baltimore thinking about having to deal with the Lions on offense? I think they'll be okay offensively. It's just a matter of situationally, do you get off the field a few times that maybe they haven't been able to in the past? And, fascinating matchup. It's going to be a great watch. It's just interesting this is one of those early season matchups that matter. It just does.
Yep. Yeah, one that you'll look back and go, man, if we would have had that win Maybe it changes some things, but maybe they can go out and get it. We'll see. Obviously, it'll be Monday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens on the road, Lions, Ravens, week 3 of the NFL. I don't have anything else. I know you don't have anything else. We gave you our key players. We talked about the Bears and how the Lions dominated there. If you want to talk further on it, you can follow us on Twitter or X at Russ NFL Draft and at Bischoff_Scott. And of course, you can rate, review, and subscribe to the Detroit Lions podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other podcast platforms. That's going to do it for us this week here on Bischoff and Brown. We'll be back next week sometime to recap the Ravens. We'll preview week 4 for the Lions. But until next time, he's Scott Bischoff. I'm Russ Brown. This has been Bischoff and Brown right here on the Detroit Lions podcast.